Welcome to the OP Noobs All Members official podcast, discussing all good things PC gaming.
Alrighty then. I'm doing one last check. Alright, hello everyone, welcome. Today is what? Is it almost New Year's Eve? Today is December 30th. Oh yeah, this is the third episode, I repeat, the third episode of the OP Noobs All Members official podcast here. So brought to you today, we got a few great hosts here. Right now leading off with me, my name is Micheal, also known as Lonely Asian. We're carrying in Hilarion, also known as Josh, Frederick Breezy here, and Danny right here as one of our other hosts. So today what we're going to be talking about and getting leading into the show is, how's everyone's been doing? We've just passed Christmas. We're about to enter the New Year's. Everyone's been having fun. I know the Steam sale was a big deal during this time.
Yeah, doing awesome, Mikey Mike. Thanks for being back. We're excited to have you. I'm doing good personally. I'm on vacation. It's been last week was time with the family, time to get serious about our lifelong commitment with the kid and the wife and the in-laws and everything. Drove up to New York, had some fun with that. And now I'm back. I've got the whole week of vacation, which I'm pretty excited about because I've been working on the website like a madman. That's me. That's what's up.
Yeah, for Christmas it hasn't been totally hectic, but there's been the ups and downs definitely. Anything with you, Danny?
Oh, just working. Spent some time with my girlfriend's family over Christmas, and just back to the office now.
How is that hard? Because that's gonna happen to me on Monday. I'm gonna have to go back and face reality. Did it come crashing hard on you?
I'm gonna have to level you. Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, and actually, I took a couple of days off during Thanksgiving, and I was thinking, it's actually worse when you have vacations because you realize how lazy you can get, how lazy things get, and then work hits you.
The reality hits you just that much harder.
Yeah, you have your lunch break or something, and then usually you would go back to bed and take a nap, and you can't do that at the office. It's awful.
Yeah, what about you? I had a pretty good Christmas as well. I got a Best Buy gift card, which I'm turning that to Steam Bucks. Otherwise, what about anyone's Steam sales? Your wallet's been broken already? You guys already spent all your Christmas monies?
So for me, it's interesting because I actually didn't get much into the Steam sale this year. I don't know if it means that I've spent too much money throughout the year, and so all the games that are coming out is, I either already have or I give it a good pass. But the thing for me is it's a great sale. It lasts for a long time, and every day I'm still coming back and checking it out. But at the end of the day, I'd say that the big games that everybody won this year kind of came out towards the end of 2014. That's probably because a lot of these developers, especially the AAA developers, were also waiting for people to get their PS4 and their Xbox One, and so as a consequence, the PC gaming industry also saw a lot of big hits between September and December. And what that means on the Steam sale today is that all the games, sure, they might be like what's that game called, Mordor? I think you have it, Danny. It's the RPG on Mordor, like Lord of the Rings thing.
Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, so that game, I was actually looking out for it because I wanted, I've been excited about it, but not to the point that I'm willing to drop $60 on it. And so I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna wait for the Steam sale, and yeah, I think it's still $40-$30 on Steam just because it just came out. How much can it go down? So it's not. I'm gonna wait for that $19.99 sale for that game, I think. How did you play it? How was it? You played it on PS4. That's gonna insult you.
Yeah, I've been playing it on PS4. Honestly, my PC can't run it, unfortunately. But realistically, I was able to pull it off on the PS4, and it looks really good. I'm sure it'll look better with ultra settings on a hot PC. Actually, not the type of game that I enjoy playing. I've come to find.
Is it like Assassin's Creed or something?
I've heard the comparison, but I don't actually. I've never played an Assassin's Creed game, so I can't compare it.
Because it feels a lot like hack and slash, but very not like Diablo hack and slash like Assassin's Creed type of thing. Has anybody on mobile tried it?
I have not tried it, but it's more. I would say it's more like it's kind of more like a God of War kind of hack and slash. I wouldn't say it's kind of like Assassin's Creed. There's more stealth elements I know than the hack and slash though.
Who's the developer on this game?
What game is this again?
Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, that I have not played it yet, but I want to. I heard amazing things about it, and the gameplay videos are spectacular.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I actually have it on the PC, and it's the same guys who develop the Batman Arkham City. So there's actually more in a feeling with that game, in that their combo systems, playing against one another. It's a lot of stealth, but also if you want just to duke it out, pull out your sword, and just start stabbing and hack and slashing. The cinematography when you like kill people, the slow motions, it's a beautiful sight. Like it's one of those games where you just want to go kill and watch it done very prettily.
And what's the end game like?
I
mean, is it the type of game? Is it more like a solo base? You're gonna play it, you're gonna finish it, and then never touch it again, or is there actually some depth to it?
For the end game stuff, I wouldn't say there's much. Like once you've gone through the main, it's just other 100% complete. You know, go kill more stuff, go find these things. It has a great background in the lore since it's before and it's its own universe. It does not follow the Lord of the Rings like trilogy, but otherwise it's left open also for a development for like a sequel to it. The way they ended the game, so otherwise it's more like you just kill once you've gone through. I kind of say once you fill it out, there's not too much after that.
Yeah. What about anybody else? Josh, Danny, have you spent any money on Steam?
Yeah, I put $10 down on Endless Space. I couldn't pass up on that.
Somebody was just talking about that pre-show. No, I think somebody on mobile was playing that.
That was Space Engineers.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not too much into the whole space thing. So, what is it, Danny? What type of game?
I believe it's like referred to as a 4X strategy game, and this is the first time I've ever purchased a game like this, so I'm actually not really too sure. I loaded it up just to see how it looked, but I haven't actually had any time to play, so I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Sounds to me like it's gonna end on your wall of shame. What is your wall of shame, Danny? Tell us.
You want to call me out?
Yeah, I want to call you out. You know about the Steam Wall of Shame, right? Basically, like all the games you've spent money on and you've never even launched or installed. As a matter of fact, I have a few.
I don't think we have enough time on this single podcast to cover that entire list.
I'd say mine is about 20 games. Mike, you must have a ton. You must have a ton with your humble bundle disease.
I mean, I have about 280, and I've played at least half those games. Though, unfortunately, I've actually played half of them.
Wow, that's good. That's better than my bookshelf.
I'll go into like the free deals that Kotaku posts and stuff. So I have a bunch of racing games I never intend to play.
Yeah, it's a perfect form of marketing. The fact that they do that and you just buy these games you never play. You're basically burning money.
I mean, you could if you can do it one day. Otherwise, like one of the biggest sales I want to recommend is like the South Park: The Stick of Truth. That did drop to $20, and I was so happy about that game when it first came out. I bought it twice. I bought myself the collector's edition over like Steam and also in person, and I bought one for my brother just so he can experience the same joy because we're both South Park fans.
So do you have to be a South Park fan to enjoy this, or is it really just funny to watch? Because I can appreciate the humor of that show. I've just never been a big follower. Like I used to watch a couple seasons, but that's the extent of my experience with South Park.
Yeah, this game is definitely a standalone. In and of itself, it's like its own episode or movie in a game format. It's like its whole episode. But if you are a fan of the series, they've referenced practically every episode they've ever created up to that point. So there's like references all over the place.
Sweet. Anybody else played this game on Mumble?
What game?
The South Park Stick of Truth.
I want to.
I haven't played it. I watched Mike's brother play it, and I'm not a huge South Park fan myself, but I enjoyed it. It was pretty, even if you don't get too much of the references of the show, it's still a really funny game. And then if you are a big fan of the show, then you definitely get even better.
Yeah, and I guess it's a perfect game for streaming, I imagine, because you don't really need to play the game. You kind of you treat it like a cartoon, actually, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon episode. Yeah, like it does have gameplay, but it's like it almost feels too perfect of an episode that you're just happen to be part of.
All right, Mikey, Mike, moving on. You want to get to the news section?
All right, sounds good then. Yeah, so we also covered news in our podcast, just a little bit blurb, sometimes a little controversy, just to get some CPUs boiling and getting on hot here. The first one we actually want to talk about is interesting. It happened like a few weeks ago, but it's really significant with the Assassin's Creed Unity, with their whole debacle with their launch, that they actually got people to free games. Something actually more interesting came out of that, actually.
Yeah, so I guess they basically they pulled the plug on the Unity Season Pass last month, offering a free game in its place as like an apology. And if you read into the fine print, it's basically if you agree to one of the free games, you're completely revoking any right to have like a legal edge on Ubisoft or whatever. Like you can't sue them, and they are completely free of any wrongdoing.
Is it just for that specific game, or is it actually you cannot sue Ubisoft ever?
That's a good point. I'm reading through the fine print right now.
Because I'm thinking, like terms and agreements. I've given quite a few thoughts to this. Term and agreements, like you always agree to something when you're playing a game. Like when I load up the screen of World of Warcraft after an expansion or after a patch, I'm accepting all this stuff. I don't read through it, and probably, I don't know, maybe something in there say, hey, you can sue Blizzard if you get stuck in between Azeroth and Pandaria, whatever. So I'm not sure what to make of it. I don't know. What do you think about it, Danny? Like, I find it's a little bit dishonest, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit dishonest, and honestly, like they're just covering their own asses, and it's kind of a smart move on their side, probably from like the legal department's standpoint. And it does look like this agreement does prevent you from being able to sue Ubisoft ever in any capacity whatsoever, so it completely takes any liability off of their plate 100%.
The thing to me is like, my opinion on this is, yes, it's unethical. No, I don't think we care. In the sense that, when can you ever sue a gaming company? And when should you, as a gamer? I think it's a lot more problematic for people who are investing money in it and, might take the freebie and just not knowing this, not reading it. You're somebody who's got their money in Ubisoft and a lot of money, and suddenly, how often is that going to happen? I don't see how it's problematic to us gamers. I don't think there's ever is a reason to sue any game for whatever happens in your life. It's my personal opinion. Some people might differ.
Yeah, I think it has to do like they're preventing basically like the chance of a class action lawsuit where some third party legal companies could like pull together like a huge number of people, like let's say 500,000 people, and be like, oh, you might be entitled to some sort of like financial gain from this experience, like when Ubisoft didn't deliver the season pass that you paid for or whatever.
Well, I guess actually, if I start to think about how you could sue a gaming company, let's say the game crashed because it's a bad port and your graphics card burns or something, like your graphics card overheat. You could totally sue Ubisoft for that.
But that's kind of like maybe your fault for having good enough hardware.
Yeah, then you get into
Then you start getting into the gray fluff of the law.
Is anybody on Mumble shocked by that? Shocked by the fact that they did that? I looked at the comments on a bunch of websites, and it's really divided. Some people say, "Who cares?" Every company does that. Some people are offended by it or something.
I'd say that it's very, very sketchy, because if they are actually prohibiting you from ever being able to sue them again, what they're basically doing is, if you agree to this, you are legally... You are
Bound.
untouchable. Yeah, they're untouchable from you.
Yeah, but
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, but we don't know that. I mean, we don't know if we don't know if signing this means you cannot ever. We haven't done our research, honestly, because that's why I think I agree with you in the sense that that's a big factor. Does it mean you cannot ever sue Ubisoft, or does it mean you can just not sue Ubisoft about this specific title?
No, it's you hereby irrevocably and unconditionally release, waive, and forever discharge and covenant not to sue Ubisoft Entertainment and each of its past, present, future divisions, parent companies, subsidiaries, affiliates, predecessors, successors.
So everyone that you know.
Doesn't that make them like almighty powerful? They can do anything to you. They could burn your ass, and you couldn't sue them because you signed that waiver.
The thing is, every kind of contract has a loophole in it for someone. Usually, it's for the lawmaker or for the contract writer themselves. However, it can oftentimes be spun around on them. So that's always something to look out for in this kind of thing.
Actually, to clarify a little bit more, it does say that at the very bottom of the line, it only pertains to the Assassin's Creed Unity video game and the Season Pass on any of the platforms. So maybe it's not too big, but I mean, it's still sketchy. They just went this under our radars regardless, even though it's just to one game versus like the whole company for that one game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for somebody to actually read the other agreements that are posted out there from other companies. But I'm guessing if the press commented on it, it means that it's unusual. That's what I'm thinking. It's like you get a freebie, but you can't ever sue us ever again. And they don't say it. They just say you get a freebie. Read the fine print. It is. I think it's disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. But to kind of move on to like little issues with other companies, we actually have another one talking about the Bandai Namco actually files a DMC complaint against a Dark Souls community fix and patch, and it's pretty interesting that even happened. That they actually started pulling something off for a community against that.
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking here at the news article. It was actually a big misunderstanding. Because what they thought had happened was, in the 2012 PC port of the game, there was some sort of fix for it, or there was going to be one, and that's where the misunderstanding happened, because Bandai Namco of Germany,
with Christian today.
Yeah. Friggin' Germany. I'm just trying to read through this again. What ended up happening was, if you had this port fix in one of your Dropbox accounts, you wouldn't be able to access it. And so I personally don't play the game. I'm not sure what exactly that means. And so
I think this is the second time that I'm a huge fan of Dark Souls, the first one. I think it was honestly one of the best games ever made this past decade. At the time, I was blown away by the graphics. I played it on PS3. That's before my big move to the PC universe, Danny.
Yeah, all right.
Just pointing you out on that one.
Well, regardless
hold
of
on,
what...
let me finish my thought. And then suddenly the game comes out on PC, and I forget that this is years ago, but for some reason I bought the game, I downloaded it, and I checked it out on PC here again, back on the Steam Wall of Shame. It's one of those games I never touched twice. But the first thing that I noticed is what an awful port. I mean, the port is just, it's dreadful. And so I did some research online saying basically trying to find out how I could improve the graphics. And this is in 2008, maybe 2009, I forget. And Google was saying, the people on the internet were saying, yeah, you have to download this fix, just like they call it now. It's basically comes from a third party. It's just independently made, and it makes everything better. You install the fix, then it's kind of tricky, you know, it doesn't plug itself naturally into the game. It's kind of, you gotta fidget with it through your own folders. You gotta step out of the game to. Anyway, the whole thing was a mess. But once you had it figured out, then the game did start to feel a little better, yet still sketchy. And here comes the new game. Again, an awful port. I actually made the big mistake when I bought the PS4, Danny. I gave my PS3 to my sister, not realizing the game was not going to come out on PS4. And so I ended up buying it on PC, dreading the port from my experience on the first one. And yeah, exactly the same exact type of crap. It's just, I'm playing this game, it does not feel good, it does not feel like it was built for PC. I hate when that happens. Every game should be built for PC first and then for consoles. And because I think as a platform, it's the trickier platform. You've got to nail it down before you can export it to the TV made stuff. And suddenly comes the same story again, except this time there's controversy around it. It's this guy who says, this is a terrible port, let me fix it. And then it gets banned. It creates a bunch of commotion on the press, and I'm not saying this actually happened, but chances are it did happen, that it wasn't all big mistakes. They just withdrew from their position because it was bad press. So two questions come out of my big monologue is, one, why do companies make bad ports? Where's the love? And two, modding community are not here to make games run well. Modding communities are here to make sure that we can add to an already publishable, marketable game. And that's my big issue with it personally.
Yeah, and it's what was it about that mod that caused, like, do we know the details as to why that got, you know, all the controversy it did?
I did some research on it. I couldn't find anything, but maybe Josh, you found something else.
Was it like with like some legality or something?
Just perusing the article, the German company basically said, you know, hey, we don't like that you're making our game better. You know, we don't want people to have access to this. You know, that's what I took away from it. I'm not sure if that's what actually happened.
So maybe the developers were worried about losing some of the integrity of the game that they originally intended to deliver?
Possibly. And right on top of the article here, it says, update, it was all just a big misunderstanding as detailed in this NeoGAF post. An agency hired to scrub the Dark Souls debug from the face of the internet mistakenly included the DS fix in its claims. It has since contacted Bandai Namco and Dropbox to clear the matter up, and the file may well be back online by the time you read this.
And honestly, just when you hear that a company is working with Dropbox, that should cue you in. Don't buy this game.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sucks because it's a great game. I think the second one, in my opinion, is more of an expansion pack than anything else. This formula got us a lot of money with the first two. Let's just stick to it. Let's not try to push ourselves on any level, because you look at the graphics, they're not that impressive. And when Dark Souls came out, the graphics blew you away at the time. For me, it's a company that disappoints because, and I know, like, I have 90% of the PC gaming majority against me right now, basically saying you don't know what you're talking about, and that's fine. But at the same time, I've got to say, I was looking for when this game came out, I was looking for it to be the next big thing, and just always a step ahead of everybody else. And it wasn't. It was an extension of what had already been done 4 years ago.
So, Fred, would you say you're a glutton for punishment?
Yes, I am a big fat glutton for punishment. Absolutely. Anybody else played the game on Mumble? Because I know he's got a big crowd of fans.
played the demo, if you can call it that, because a demo is supposed to be easy.
Yeah, it's not.
Can you even get past the first bad guy in the
No,
demo?
and the funny thing is that's quote-unquote tutorial.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Welcome to Dark Souls, die.
This is one
Goodbye.
of those games that I truly appreciated. Usually, I hate the formula, like the formula that says you need a strategy guide to play this game well. You know, that's you take Divinity for example, and that's my experience through Divinity. Yes, it's a great game. Yes, maybe it deserves best game of the year 2014 because a lot of companies have given it that. But at the same time, this is the type of game that you don't have a strategy guide, and you can use IGN, you can use whatever you want, but you don't want. You want to play the game the way it's supposed to be played, you need to be reading through this stuff. Unless you have tons of time to figure this out, and God knows I don't. And to me that's unacceptable. Like, a game should be enjoyed without a walkthrough.
Well, it's all subjective. I mean, that's just the way they wanted to deliver the product. And I mean, I feel you on that. Like, I hate sitting down and having to read a guide in order to play a game because I don't find any pleasure in that whatsoever. I read enough at work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it really depends on the game, you know. Like, for a game like Dark Souls, I don't know if this draw is anywhere near accurate, but from what I understand, it's like a dungeon crawler, you know,
Yeah, it is.
kind of like Skyrim. And so, you know, for Skyrim, I don't want to have to, you know, look online just to find out how to do this dungeon. I mean, it takes away from the feeling of, yes, I solved it, you know. However, at the same time, with Dark Souls, with how hard I've heard it being, you might have to, because from what I've heard and from what I've seen, it tries to use realistic combat techniques, and I use that term kind of loosely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, that was the end of my thought. So, you know.
It's the one. Dark Soul is the one game I truly enjoyed just following a strategy guide, because it made things a little bit easier, and the strategy guide in some way makes sense, made a lot of sense. I don't know, maybe it's just it was a different time. Anyways, Mike, move on.
Yeah, so that wraps up the Dark Souls fix right there. But I would say also just a last note, I say I probably would enjoy it because it's, even if you have the strategy, to implement it is a whole nother process, because that game is hard enough. Because you see people who beaten the game on drumsticks and Guitar Hero controllers. I mean, even if you knew how to win the game, it's not like you could still win without the skill.
I think you nailed it. You nailed it right here, because that's the difference between my experience playing Divinity and my experience playing Dark Souls. Dark Souls, I would read the little blurb on my strategy book, and then I would go for it, and it was hard. You know, I understood the mechanics, I had read about it, but I had to fight my way through. Whereas Divinity, I'm following a walkthrough, but by following the walkthrough, things become easy. It's basically telling you where to go next, and to get the right bosses at the right time. It's all about timing. It's not about actual strategy, and that's I think you nailed it.
One quick one on that. I don't know if anyone's played Majora's Mask back in the day, when in order to find this one particular mask, you had to be at this very specific location at a very specific time in the game, and there's like the only way you would know that is by either randomly being there or by picking up the guide and reading about it.
Yep, I actually have a copy of that game down in my basement. It's pretty fun. I like how dark it is. Fred, you look like you're about to be saying something.
No, I just Danny, you're breaking up a little bit. Your internet connection, I think, is going down.
Sorry.
Is he breaking up for you guys too?
A little bit,
Yep.
but I could understand what he was saying.
Yeah, I got it too.
All right. Well, to move on, actually on the same topic of mods, it's actually pretty cool with, if you know the original Dukes X, which has won just like a monumental amount of awards and a gameplay. The modding community once again has. Hey, I love the games. It does what it does, and it does it so well. It's just a great first-person shooter. But the modding community once again picked up the game, decided to launch a overhaul, which is called Deus Ex Revision, which simply remasters the game, remasters the map, and brings it up to spec. And they plan to launch that in February.
And this is the first one, right? It's basically a remake of the first one.
Yeah, it's a remake, and it's like a fanboy hardcore remake of the game. They add in a few additional mods with biochips and more skill trees. And so it's pretty exciting with the community. Also, at the same note, with another mod coming up with Metal Gear Solid 5, which came out recently, the modding community once again dug into those source codes and unlocked the frame caps, and also began tweaking and even created Hideo Kojima and putting his face in the game itself.
When did Deus Ex come out?
I think the original one was in 2000, in the year 2000, because I remember this was actually in a game theory. If you don't know what that is, definitely check it out. It's just called Game Theorists on YouTube. But basically, the game came out in 2000, the original one, and the Twin Towers was noticeably missing in the skyline in the skybox.
Oh,
and
because the game takes place in New York?
Yeah. And what was really scary about that was, because this game came out in 2000, but the thing was, the in-game cover-up for that, because there just wasn't enough memory for it, was that the Twin Towers had fell in a terrorist crash. Like in a terrorist attack.
Come on, BS.
No!
Are you serious?
I am dead serious. That came out in the year 2000.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
Has the Bush administration looked into this at all?
I think it's a bit late now, but yeah, I mean that one. I learned about it in this game theory video of games predict your future, and it was it was just like whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. But I mean, okay, is it like were the Twin Towers missing from the picture because they just didn't shoot that specific angle of New York, or is it actually no? The Twin Towers are supposed to be there and they're missing.
Well, because the reason they couldn't include the Twin Towers in the actual game was because they ran into memory problems, like with how big the game was. They ran into memory issues.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Well, yeah. Well, the in-game cover-up was, they fell during a terrorist attack. That was just the in-game cover-up for lack of memory.
That's crazy. But would you say that this game is part of a specific, I missed out on the whole phenomenon. I don't know why. I don't know what I was doing at the time. I think I was playing Tekken Tag on PlayStation, actually, Danny.
I was waddling around my house. Just learned to walk at that point.
Oh yeah, and that's what I think that's what I'm implying. It's I think it bred a whole new generation of gamers in some way, because people speak of it like it was a phenomenon. Mike, did you get started on this? Because you're also a little bit younger.
Yeah, it came out with Windows XP, so they were kind of releasing transition there with also Windows 2000. I didn't actually play it till a couple years later when I actually started owning an actual computer, because I was 9 years old when that game came out. But once I got into computer and FPS is like Half-Life, Deus Ex, they're all along the same titles, and the graphics look just like that back then too. So it was like playing a few years older with PS2 graphics, it still looked great. It was like, wow, it's this geometric polygons, they're so beautiful.
So how much are you expecting out of the remake? You can call it a remake, right?
No, it's not. It's actually, like I said, it's a community made. The community decided to hey, I want this game back. People play it at least once every year. It just brings back so much nostalgia. They're like, you know what? Let's take on this project. So this group created the Deus Ex Revision. They've started this project, a small team, and went through it and plan to remake the whole game visually and the maps, as well as adding a few additional modding and skill trees and extra mechanics. So that's the modding community for you.
Well, I mean, and this isn't the first time something like this has happened. I mean, take the game Black Mesa, for instance, That just remade the original Half-Life, and I personally haven't been able to play it, but, I hear it was pretty good. I've heard mixed reviews of it actually, but yeah, this isn't the first time this has happened.
I played it. It was amazing.
There you go.
I would like to see if I was gonna see one. So let's ask that question. If I was to see a remake, like a complete overhaul of a game I played when I was a kid, since it's the end of the year and we can get a little bit romantic tonight, I would like to see Doom 2 completely overhauled, especially because there's a lot of noise about Doom right now. I think this guy Romero published some stuff online on Twitter that got noticed by the press about a bunch of stuff. I think it's the 20th anniversary, which doesn't make me any younger, but it means I was playing this game, I was 12 years old, and that's what pulled me into PC. I mean, I had a Sega Genesis at the time. I was playing Alex Kidd. And suddenly I can shoot with a double barrel shotgun some weird monsters on PC. I switched immediately. Myst didn't cut it out for me. It was all about Doom 2, and I would love to see not Doom 4. I think they're working on that. I think it's coming out. I played Doom 3. I thought honestly, considering what they had to live up to, I think it was a good game. It captured the game in its essence. But it still wasn't, it wasn't revolutionary at all, or it just adapted the things we love in this very first-person shooter into modern times. But I would love to see a complete remake of Doom 2 with the same maps, the same monsters, just everything that looks, feels, sounds modern times. But you guys probably were too young for this, Mikey. Mike, you were barely born on for Doom 2, weren't you?
No. What? That came out back like late 80s?
Yeah, I think no. Doom 2 was 94.
Yeah, I was 3 years old, still starting school and napping.
It would have been ethical for you to play it. No, Josh, don't tell me you played it.
I have played the Doom. I have played the Doom games. I actually designed maps for the original Doom. I'm not saying I played them when they first came out, though.
Yeah, Danny, is your internet a little bit better? Because you're like you've got a few more years. You play Doom? I think Danny's internet is completely disconnected or something.
Yeah, I surprisingly I played Doom when I was 4.
Tell us the story. How does that happen?
Okay, well, I mean, I was when I was 4, my mom would drop me off at my friend's house, so his mom would babysit me and my sister, and his older brother at the time had it on his PC, so anytime he wasn't on his PC, me and my friend would go on. And we have no idea what we're doing, but we're just blowing zombies away. And probably what it should a 4-year-old play, but there was a lot of games I played when I was young. I also played, I think, Mortal Kombat around the same time and other games.
Yeah, I mean, okay, perfect example. Connecting this podcast to last week's, we're talking about hatred and how hatred is just basically you feeling like all you want to do is shoot people. What's Doom? I mean, that's the origin of first-person shooter. What is Doom if not just the inner rage to unleash hell and double barrel some monsters? There's no hypocrisy to it. There's no pre-made stories. There's actually no story whatsoever except the fact that you're lost on the moon or something. And from there, darkness comes and it's your way out. And I love the fact, I want to bring this because I like people's opinion on this. And it's something that's completely disappeared from first-person shooters and campaigns. I love the fact that when you play Doom, you've got to find health. And I know that seems outdated. It seems too slow-paced now in first-person shooters. When you take a bullet, you just go hide in the corner and you wait for your health to replenish. And you start from scratch. You start anew a couple seconds later. But I felt like Doom brought attention to the game. And maybe that's just me being nostalgic. You're on 17% health. You've been like that for 8-10 minutes. You're just fighting your way through for a little health pack that's going to give you 10%. When you get to that health pack, you feel that relief, like, oh, thank God, I've got 27% now. And it just kept you, it kept you on your seat. And I feel like today, the games, I'm all about being fast-paced. I'm all about short campaigns, but I feel like we lost something along the way. I don't know. Any comments? Quite welcomed on this.
I completely agree with you on the regeneration of health, at least in the first-person shooter way, because it's less immersive. I think what you said of keeping you on the edge of the seat, it's totally true. Because like I'll be playing Call of Duty, and if I'm in trouble, I'm like, let me just hide behind a block for for a couple minutes, and then shoot guys more. But when if you have played Wolfenstein: The New Order that just came out a while ago, that they do a good job. You have to still find health. You only regen health by tens. So if you're like 95, you'll go up to 100. But if you're 85, you won't go up to past 90. And then the finding the health really puts you in the game. It makes you can't like just go run around and shoot everything. You have to like actually like watch out what you're doing. And it's I think it's more immersive than the regeneration.
So the guys,
I
the
really
guys from
want to play that game.
and the guys from Wolfenstein are, I don't know my history. I'm sorry about that, but I think they're connected to Doom. I think
They're
Wolfenstein.
the same guys.
Yeah, are they the same guys?
Yeah, id Software makes Wolfenstein.
Yeah, because Wolfenstein came out before Doom did. I think
The new Wolfenstein was made by Bethesda.
It's published by Bethesda, I believe so.
Yeah, they're the producers. And
I'll look it up.
And the Doom guys are probably the developers. I heard good things about Wolfenstein. How good is it?
Developers, Machine Games, and the publishers Bethesda Software. It looks amazing. If I had $20, I would have bought it already. Oh, dude.
I think moving from one polemic to the next, I think, Danny, you're back. I can see you clearly now. But moving from one polemic to the next, I think, and don't quote me on this, but that when Wolfenstein came out, it was completely banned from Germany.
You mean you're talking about the original Wolfenstein, right?
Because of the Nazi signs.
Yeah.
So you had Nazi signs in the games, which Americans are fine with because you kick their asses. The French are fine with because you guys kick their asses, thanks. And but in Germany, any propaganda, you can't call it propaganda, any display of Nazism in any shape or form, even through video games, is illegal, and they had to make. So that doesn't mean the game didn't come out in Germany. It means the developers had to make the German version.
Well, I mean, they did something very similar with Homefront, if you ever played that, where the North Koreans take over the U.S. In South Korea, they made it different so that it wasn't just like the North Koreans. They called it a powerful Asian nation. They never specifically mentioned North Korea anywhere in there.
That's so funny.
Were the developers backing down from threats from North Korea?
I guess. I don't know.
Which takes me to another topic. I'm like hopping subjects here, but I heard last week and it shocked me. World of Warcraft is not played by Japanese people. Did you know that? So they have like this massive audience in China, but Japan does not play WoW.
Is it like not allowed there, or do they just
Or is
not
it like
play
a reason?
I don't know. I think part of that is because of this powerful nation you're talking about, not North Korea, but the one in the south. It's because the MMO market also has a huge. There's so many Asian developers with the Korean move, which I'm not a big fan of when it comes to MMORPGs. But I think they see it as competition or something. I don't know. It's something against like West versus East. It's got a lot to do with that. I'm not sure even how Blizzard got into China. Who was it that told me the other day because of the Mist of Pandaria expansion?
That was actually me. The creators of World of Warcraft, basically said to the Chinese government, "Hey, we're going to make an expansion all about you if you let our game be played in your country." Because in Wrath of the Lich King, it was banned because of the Death Knight's Bone Shield. Because it was disrespectful to them. And so they said, "All right, hey, we'll make an expansion all about you. Just let them play it."
Yeah. That's
Interesting.
Yeah, just as a side note on what he said, just so I guess if you didn't know this already, in China they're not allowed to show any kind of bone, skeleton, or a ghost. I don't know what the reason is.
heard
I haven't
that.
looked it up, but yeah, they're not allowed. That's why they got offended by the bone shield.
Yeah, and I think even the undead, the race in the horde side, the undead look kind of more like fleshy and meaty in China. I heard something like that. I never saw some screenshots, but I think you've got a few out there on Google. Mikey, Mike, you want to take the last news set before we move to the picks of the year?
All right, yeah, definitely. Actually, after that, there is actually one quick blurb I do want to mention afterwards. But before we go there, is actually a pretty cool company called Double Fine, who creators of a Costume Quest, Double Stack. They actually started launching a video series called Devs Play.
Yeah, so I'm actually the person who did quite some research on that. They're teaming up with this company from, I think they're from Oakland, to quote it right. Got started in 2005. Oregon-based company dedicated to documenting the world of video games. So it's just a couple guys, I think, from the film industry who started doing documentary work. You can check him out on YouTube's Mikey Mike. We should leave some notes from the podcast after that. You can check him out on YouTube. What they do is pretty cool. What caught my attention here on this specific update, which I think as a team, as members of Happy Noobs, we should give credit to these guys, Two-Player Productions, because they're pretty much all about doing interviews, connecting with the developers, and really doing professional work out of them, and telling the stories of the games we play through the eyes of the guys who make it. I like that. I mean, that's very much at the heart of everything we do on the website. We're all about the guys who make the games before we get to the games. And so I just think it's cool when you see a small company that's getting, that's jump starting, because you go on their website, they seem to be kind of small, but they just produce great stuff. And you've got a major studio like Double Fine Productions, who came out with these great games. Make a note of that. I recommend reading on the website a few articles. There's a Costume Quest 2, the review, written by Margot Chervony. She's one of our best writers, and also a story on the point and click that she also wrote, and they've been such an influential part of that movement, this specific studio, and suddenly to work with a small studio and produce great stuff out of it. If you look at it, like a lot of the interviews they do, it's a short window. It's pretty much between now and I think early January or mid-January, and they're just doing a couple streams, playing some big games, some smaller games, not all on the PC platform. Some of them are on Nintendo DS, I think. And they bring in these massive people, not just the guy, the intern at the studios. They bring in people who've been influential in that industry, and to talk about the game, the history behind it, the evolution of it all, what it meant. It's great stuff. So highly recommend people check it out.
Cool.
Yeah, as far as two-player games, they're Broken Age. I think that was them, or was that Double
Yeah.
Fine?
Double Fine actually created Broken Age. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I oftentimes don't pay attention to who makes them. I was actually able to play that, and it was a very charming game. If I had to put a word to it, it was very charming, and it had a nice warm feeling to it, a little bit.
I've heard a
Mike,
lot of good things about that game.
And Mike, you're like a big you're a big Custom Quest fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Double Fine also because their gameplay has always been refreshing. They always create new inventive mechanics that are different. They take on some genres and just bring a new twist to them. It's just kind of cool to see Two-Player Productions. I'm excited to actually take a look after hearing about Two-Player Productions. They're like a documentary company, and they've done stuff with Minecraft, The Scrolls, different Mojang, Penny Arcade. I want to look into their like document with Amnesia also. So if you're like a fan of horror games, they did a documentary for that. But yeah, I've played through Broken Age, and I'm waiting for the second one. What really hooked me on even further was the writer of the Broken Age, and the fact that they have Jack Black voicing as one of the characters too. I'm a fan of his stuff.
I love Jack Black. Hey, would you say that that studio is produces the best stuff in the genre, in the point and click genre today?
I want to say they're pretty strong in the fact that their stories are always refreshing. They're not always point and click, but they come out. A lot of it is kind of similar to like point and click of where they go, move. I think did they also do a jazz punk too?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
not
don't.
sure about that one because that one was pretty odd, unique. But I wasn't too sure. I want to say it feels like the Double Fine. The environment feel is a Double Fine game. Whenever you play Double Fine, it's like you always feel it's refreshing every time.
Sweet. All right. I think we can. I think we can close the podcast on the very last section. It's the end of the year. Mikey Mike, take it over.
Yeah, actually, one real quick update. Since this just came out recently, and it may actually save your wallets a little bit, is Origin has been powered by EA, and for whatever reason you haven't installed, you may want to double check your credit cards, your account history, because there seems to be a possible hack in the sense that there may be unauthorized purchases. So I just say if you happen to have that, just double check your account real shortly. So I don't want to bring a Debbie Downer here, but that's what's going on with Origin with EA there.
That's insane.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, so that's a nice brief news broadcast update. But to end this on a great note, since this is also near the end of the year, we're going to be talking about some of the games of the year for 2014.
Who we starting with?
Ooh, it's hard to say. There's so many. Like, there's Spike, there's IGN, there's Joystick, Game
No,
of
you
the
have
Year.
to say that's the point. That's the point of the podcast. You have to declare your. I think let's start with you, Danny. 2014, and it cannot be It cannot be PS4.
I thought of that. I thought ahead and decided to remove all the PS4 games from my list. So, to be fair, I'm going to have to give my 2014 Game of the Year award to Wasteland 2.
Huh. Interesting. That's not common. It's uncommon. It's very uncommon.
It was.
You're gonna have to defend that position because it's. I haven't even seen it like in outside of OP News gaming companies. They haven't even made note of it.
Really?
I don't know.
I've been
totally
following.
off. Go ahead.
I've been following the development for over the initial year of development from like when they were raising their funds through Kickstarter, and like the game finally came out and I got my hands on it, and it was just totally awesome old school RPG, and it's pretty brutal. It's pretty cool.
What's the scope of the game? Because I've never played it myself.
Basically, it's a post-apocalyptic sequel. So the way I guess they had Fallout, the original Fallout in mind when they developed the game, and it's kind of like, in a sense, a sequel to Fallout, but not really. But it's kind of like captures the original vibe of the Fallout games, and I'm referring to the older like ones like Fallout, Fallout 2, where it's like a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and you're tasked to, bring your crew along the map and fight off bad guys and fight for resources, and there's a ton of cool dialogue. It's tactical turn-based. Yeah, it's basically you set up each person in your each of your companions, you like assign them specific tactics, whether it's to heal somebody or to attack an enemy or to run for cover. It's pretty cool.
Why is it so good? Because 2014 Game of the Year, we had a pretty active year.
That is true. I mean, I don't know. For me personally, it just struck me as like a really cool and unique game. I'm a little biased because like I like that type of genre, like that genre in particular. Other than that, to be completely honest, I was just thinking like the other game that I could possibly pull out of my head is Titanfall, because I put in way too many hours in just grinding Titanfall, and I don't know if it's Game of the Year worthy though.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of a very divided crowd on Titanfall. It certainly blows you away. It's certainly the type of game you play and you're just getting. I like to take a shot, drink a beer, and just do a run, like down the beer real
Right,
fast.
right.
I mean, do a run of Titanfall with the A40 just like blasting in your ears. That usually gets me to bed.
Well, that's yeah, totally. And I it kind of served its purpose in the sense of like kind of being an addictive game that you can like level a character up a bunch of times. I liked that aspect of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly why. Well, I'm not gonna get into my pick of the year. I'm gonna keep that for third to last. Mike, your pick.
All right. Yeah, for me personally, of all the games, I have to say, because I'm a big South Park fan, is the Stick of Truth when that came out and announced. I mean, it has the greatest graphics ever. It was so easy, no issues, all the references, all the fun humor, and the mechanic was actually quite refreshing. It's a turn-based timing and an RPG. It was pretty easy. I wish it was harder, but overall, that was my game pick. Like, I was excited. I played like 20 hours straight, and I still want to play some more whenever I want to come back to like watch it as an episode.
It's funny. It's funny that it be the highlight of the year. Would you say it was a good year for gaming?
I want to say it was a pretty good year for gaming. It's hard to say because there's so many games that came out this year too. I mean, like all the games that came out, I've gotten, and I didn't even actually wait for it to sell. So, for PC wise, it's kind of, I'm saying, yeah, it's a pretty good year.
I can't help but feel, and I might be wrong about this, but I can't help but feel like 2013 and 2014, we've basically been a little bit of victims from the wave of the new consoles. So in 2013, nothing truly hot came out because a lot of the studios were getting started on coding for a new platform. And then 2014 comes and you've got this long delay of releases. Basically nothing really truly came out between January and September, because everybody was waiting for people to actually buy the new platforms. And like the PC gaming universe is still something that is connected to the console industry, and as a consequence, we didn't see that much exciting stuff. What was the last game, would you say, that was really innovative?
I would say GTA 5, at least for me. But that came out last year. Yeah. A lot of amazing games as of recently came out last year.
And that's your pick. That was your pick for the year.
No, because I mean it's 2013. If I had to pick for 2014, out of the games that I have played, I would say Wolfenstein: The New Order. But I think that I would actually pick Dragon Age Inquisition, but I have not played it yet, so I can't say.
Yeah, you should not say until you play it. But going back on what I was saying, that's why for me it's my favorite pick of the year is not a game, it's an expansion, because it's not something that brings something entirely new. It's something that looks at what's been done before, doesn't let it go, doesn't abandon what it is, because it's the studio's pet, and they've been they've been caring for it for decades. Reaper of Souls, Diablo 3's expansion. That's an expansion where I think, in my opinion, that's why Blizzard is such an amazing studio. That's why I'm a Blizzard fanboy. It's because they release a game that we've been waiting for a decade. You've got a crowd of fans. Diablo 2, it's epic. It's of epic proportions. They could not disappoint, and they disappointed at every level. The release was awful. I'm talking not about the expansion, I'm talking about the original game. The auction house they had going was a total failure. And this is a studio that says, no, we're going to fix this, and we're going to make it a game that's highly addictive. It's just a Blizzard game. It's a game you get started, you enjoy it at first, and then the more you play it, the more you realize how much depth there is to it, even though all you do is click. They came up with the patch, I think it was patch 2.0, correct me if I'm wrong, and that took out the auction house. It brought a whole new dimension to the game about just running for loots. It took us away from running the story mode. It got us into just popping into crazy with monsters, bosses that you can't actually, you don't know what's coming. You never know what's coming. It's always original. And then there's this complete quest for loot that you're always playing. There's the Paragon levels, and then once they had all that fixed up, immediately after they came up with the expansion, Reaper of Souls. They added a whole new dimension to the game story-wise, and it had me hooked. It had me hooked the whole year. It like had his claws on my back like no other. And what's interesting is that I'd say my first 10 to 20 hours playing Diablo before the expansion itself was me thinking, this is not a game I'm gonna play. This is not gonna be a game I'm gonna get hooked on. And somehow Blizzard did it again. The first time was with WoW, and now I'm, if I don't get through a couple rifts a week, I feel it. It's like you should be smashing skulls. So my game of the year. Here you go.
Great game.
Yeah, it's a great game. Anybody else on Diablo 3 that's feeling what I'm saying?
I played Diablo 3 close to when it first came out, and at that point I was still really, really hooked on Diablo 2, and it kind of felt disappointing to me because I was the necromancer in Diablo 2 with my army of like 30, skeletons, and so I played the witch doctor, and it was really disappointing. I'm like, I got a dog and 3 skeletons that go away after a minute.
Yeah, but it's not like that. That's the thing. That's what I mean about the 20 hours. The first 20 hours, you're kind of lame. You're just clicking left and right. It seems very slow paced. And then now when you play with like something a Paragon level 150 or capped at 70, you've got your armor set that lets you get into Torment 4, 5, 6, which are the 3 hardest levels. And it's just an army of monsters just crawling at you every corner of the map, and you die a lot, but at the same time, I don't know, I'm completely hooked. It's a fantastic game.
I actually started playing when Reaper of Souls came out, Fred, and I totally got hooked for probably 2 or 3 months solid.
Yeah, and you're just clicking, right? Like you spend all these hours, all you do is you click. Sometimes I hear my mouse and I'm like, God, I click a lot. And my wife comes downstairs, she looks at me, she says, what are you doing? Like, you're just clicking, man.
Well, there were times, as you know, that I just sat in the lobby while you clicked away for me.
On the edge of the screen. What about you, Josh?
For my game of the year, I would have to choose Planetary Annihilation.
Oh,
nice.
Because I've always been an RTS person. I really don't like first-person shooters. I don't have a fast enough reaction time. However,
it's the problem with FPS. I think especially online, if you're not going to be able to FPS. Unless all you do is FPS, you're not going to be able to compete at a level that's enjoyable, I feel. Or maybe I'm just getting old.
Well, I mean, when I was really, really young, and I'm talking like, 5 and 6, I wanted to play Half-Life, like I saw my dad playing it. And my dad said, alright, well, you need to beat Counter-Strike Condition Zero on every difficulty level.
You've got a great dad.
I know. He actually used to play a lot of World of Warcraft. He was in Infamous. He used to play with Swifty and everything.
That's awesome.
But, he said, alright, if you want to play Half-Life, you need to beat Counter-Strike Condition Zero on every difficulty level. And I did. I don't think he was expecting me to.
5 years old.
5 years, I turned 6 in between.
Well, another achievement.
I did it. By Job, I did it. And I've just lost that skill since then. I've turned to strategy gaming more, and when I first heard about Planetary Annihilation, I was huge into Kerbal Space Program.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
I love Kerbal.
Thank you. Give this man a cookie.
Great minds think alike.
That's right.
And so the way I saw it, especially in the trailer, the asteroid smashing into the planet, I was just sitting there staring at my screen like like just mind blown, kind of like the planet.
But how about you
And-
tell them about that time that we played Planetary Annihilation together?
The one where our planets accidentally smashed together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So me and Chris were playing together, and we were on two different planets, but their orbits were very similar, but not exact. And so they started out really close, but then his went faster than mine, and so but I was still moving. And at one point,
about that. Moving on, carry on.
well then, and then at one point, you know, our planets ended up smashing together, and that was the end of the game. None of us even attacked each other. You know, we didn't attack each other. The planets just collided, and that was it.
There you go. So you've got planetary. So what are the 4 picks at the end of the day, Mike?
We got Wastelands 2. Mine is South Park Stick of Truth, Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls expansion pack, and Planetary Annihilation is the RTS game.
Now, does anybody on Mumble, before we close the call, feel like we've missed something and is completely outraged by the fact that we didn't mention that game?
No, I mean my pick was just Wolfenstein New Order, but that's about it.
Nobody said Goat Simulator.
Yeah, nobody said the Goat Simulator. If only the great Fentiman was here.
Oh, did he actually is voted for Gold Simulator as Game of the Year?
I actually don't know. I just know I've been playing with his feelings the whole year around that game because he's got so many indies.
Yeah, but overall, I think actually as the year for PC gaming comes to a close, it actually honestly has been a better year. For a couple of reasons, like also like the new architecture for graphics cards are on a new level, which pushes out more gaming, great new engines coming in, and also to just tie in with the new generation of consoles. This is actually the only time where you actually see AAA titles not just saying exclusive for Xbox and PS4. They're actually including PC in every title. So games that normally were not accessible by PC because we were just too much to handle, now they're actually at a point where they can sort of port it.
Yeah.
It's coming to a new age for games now where every game is going to be made. They're going to have to actually take a look at PC gamers very seriously this year.
All right, well, we can't close on the past. So what are you most excited about for 2015?
Ooh.
No more paying for beta.
The possible addition of esports as an Olympic sport.
Oh,
What?
Yeah.
who said that? Somebody said that last week. Somebody said that esports should be an Olympic phenomenon, and somebody of importance, and he actually made.
It was a WoW creator who said it, and I didn't read the article. I just know that it was a WoW creator who said it. In my opinion, it should be an Olympic sport because if you actually look back at the history of the Olympics, poetry was an Olympic event. You know, it wasn't just athletes. And even if you look at the modern era, the Olympics were meant to be for the average person.
So
You know?
is there basically the main argument for this, if I understand it correctly, is your reaction time when you're in the esports scene is far quicker than the average guy, like or lady. Your reaction time playing those games, it's a skill. It's a skill that you find in sports.
Yeah. And with more and more of these games being, you know, internetified, if that's even a word, I don't think so, but, you know.
What's your reaction time when you play the Goat Simulator?
I've actually never played Goat Simulator.
It's however long it
per
takes
second.
to lick something. What's your lick to click radius?
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I would say esports. It's a different kind of a strain. I guess it's more of a mental strain. At least like I play a lot of Dota, and then if a game usually lasts like if a game goes to an hour, that's like it gets pretty hectic.
Yeah, it drains you.
Yeah, exactly.
StarCraft 2 is the same. StarCraft 2 I don't play it because the moment I start playing I start stressing and it feels like work.
Yeah, it's the worst game out there because their actions per minute is 300 actions, and their amount of time of what they're reading, it's almost inhumanly possible. So, Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to realize it's South Korea's national sport. I mean, they take it pretty damn seriously.
Yeah, that's
Are you serious?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
That's nuts.
Like StarCraft 2 professionals are more regarded than their best professional soccer, whatever sports team there is.
Yeah, if they had their
That's
StarCraft 2 South Korean players tell the South Korean soccer team like good luck on their game in the
So-
locker room.
How much better are they than the Americans?
That's like comparing the broken down car down the street to a Ferrari.
That's what people say actually. That like we do good when we compete nationally, but the moment we set foot on the internet, and notice I say we because I have a U.S. passport. The moment we set foot on the international scenes, we're getting our asses served.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say for StarCraft 2, that's true. I don't know about other esports related games. I know for Dota, it's more even based than just South Korea. I mean, Dota is heavily the China teams are amazing, but also I would say European teams are really good, and US only has about 2 really good teams.
Yeah, and then in terms of League of Legends, they've only this year recently have they actually kind of entered the World Series playoffs and actually qualified. So like they've gone up since then, but we're still in terms of skills and strategy, we're behind in meta and actually creating something new. We're just catching up to the people on at least the eastern side of the world.
Yeah, I think what it really has to do with the way the culture treats it, because like you said, South Korea, it's like it can be played as a full-time job, like a really well-paid full-time job. While in the United States, you can't do that.
You can. I think it's starting.
Yeah, now it's starting, but it's still like pretty difficult.
You see more. You see news clips about this type of stuff more and more every day. Like just teams getting formed. I think this porn website. Actually, I saw a news clip that was really funny about that. It's like this. Apparently, it's this massive site about porn that just bought an esports team, and I swear to God, and
It's true.
It's Pornhub, Pornhub.com. They made a official team. I know they did it for Dota. That was the official team they made. I don't know about other esports games, but yeah, they
That's
just
awesome.
announced the team, and it's I think they're from Spain.
They
Yeah.
also
Well, I mean, that
they
counts
also
at least,
started
though.
a record label.
yeah.
Oh.
New
I
interesting
think
marketing that they're taking. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, before we get off topic there, though, that's kind of crazy.
It
But
used to be
anyways-
drug, sex, and rock and roll. Now it's like it's like
Yeah,
websites,
man.
porn, and video games. It's the new generation, guys.
Yeah, otherwise, this is pretty good. Just to wrap up the call, man, this is, once again...
No, Mike, we need to talk about porn.
Hey, the internet is for porn, but let's do this on our off-screen time, please.
Oh,
mean,
come on,
we
the
don't even want-
conversation was just getting good.
It was just
Hey,
getting
if you want to
Mike.
start it, I mean, we can talk about, like, Oculus Rift and that stuff, but you know what? I'm not going to touch my hands towards that area. I mean...
Actually,
Oh, it won't be
to
your
touch
hands.
to touch on this, just quickly before you close the call, because I just read on this today. Seriously, outside of having porn in virtual 3D through the Oculus, even though I think that is a good idea, this guy came up with this. We touched upon it on the first episode, Danny, when you were talking about the fact that you need a Samsung phone to use the new Oculus headset, and you were basically saying, well, I think it's basically to help developers and the Android market get started. And turns out you were absolutely right. These companies coming out with this type of experiences that take the Oculus away from gaming but let you experience a whole bunch of sceneries and place. You put the mask on and suddenly you're in China. You put the mask on, suddenly you're on the moon. And it's supposed to be, I haven't seen screenshots, I haven't seen anything, but supposedly I think it's awesome. I think it's good. I think this piece of technology is going to show us the way forward in like 2020s. Talk about
Yeah,
Titanfall
it's
on the Oculus.
very cool. It's gonna be good
Wow.
for virtual girlfriends too.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I mean,
You would know, Danny. You would know.
to be honest, the porn industry does lead a lot in the technology advances and just the randomness of things.
yeah. Thanks, Mikey. Mike.
Yeah, but anyways, just to end this call, I mean, I want to thank everyone here for tuning in to the episode 3 of the OP Noobs All Members Official podcast. We are actually reaching at the end of the year of 2014. We're going to see you guys in 2015. Just a quick shout out to a few people on Mumble. We have Mink, aka Paco. We have Zenzis. I hope I'm not saying your name wrong. Census. All right, yeah, you got the guy there. But otherwise, just feel free to follow us. We're on Twitter. We have our website, opnoobs.com. Follow this video, like it if you see it on YouTube, wherever you are. And you know what? Most importantly, the best way to help support us is actually to become part of us. Join on the fun conversations, drop an application, and you know what? We wish you all a brand new year, and we'll see you then.
The cake is a lie.
Peace.
Thank you, everybody.